Kia ora homa. So we're doing a live video today. I'm actually quite liking doing the live streaming because it's a little bit easier on me than having to edit. And because of the time constraint, trying to edit videos with as much that goes on in my realm as a teacher, it's quite hard. So today's experiment is a bit of a different one. So in the past, I've done the experiment elephant's toothpaste. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do elephant's toothpaste with a twist. Now, what I mean by that is I did some research. I recently bought a whole bunch of these little snap lights. These are fishing ones. So the idea being is you put it on your fishing line and snap it, shake it, goes down to the bottom of the ocean and glows, and it attracts fish to your fishing line. Now, I did some research. I was like curious, as a good learner should be, what goes into a snap light? And it turns out that hydrogen peroxide, inside a snap light, you've got the plastic casing and then the coloured chemical, and then inside there's a little glass vial, and that's filled with a chemical. And when you snap it and break that piece of glass, a chemical reaction happens, and the byproduct of the reaction is luminescence. So the energy is given off as light. Now, the catalyst inside that little glass vial is hydrogen peroxide. So what I want to do is I want to take out the hydrogen peroxide and I want to use it to do elephant's toothpaste. Now, because we're doing it live, we're in my classroom, and so the equipment I'm using is one of these snap lights. I'm going to cut that up in a second and separate it. Some ordinary yeast, okay, and that's going to help capture my bubbles and oxygen and foam. And here I've got some liquid soap, and I'm going to mix that with water and mix in the yeast, mix it all together. And then in this jar, I'm going to put the hydrogen peroxide vial. Now, I've got to be really careful that when I separate this, I don't accidentally break the glass, because if I break the glass, the reaction of the snap light's going to go off and it's going to turn the chemicals into something else. Normally when a chemical reaction happens, the chemicals mix together and become a different compound, if that makes sense. So they become something different. They react with each other and they change their form into something else. For instance, like when you mix vinegar and baking soda together, it turns into something else, and the byproduct is carbon dioxide. So the same thing will happen. I want to try and avoid that for the sake of this experiment. Does that make sense? So I'm going to pull you a little bit closer so you can see what I'm up to. We're freestyling today. I only came up with this yesterday because I was curious as to what was going to happen. So I'll pull you a bit closer. So here's trusty science jar and my big giant beaker. So what I'm going to do right now is make a heck of a mess and cut open my snap light. So you can pick up snap lights from the $2 shop. If you want to get a really, really good one, you could probably pick them up from a store like a hardware store, like a fishing shop. They'd have really, really good ones. They'd have like ones like this that they use for attracting fish, but they also might have ones that you'd use in an emergency situation. The emergency situations, like what I would classify as a survival type, last for quite some time. Now, that being said, this one here, I did one at home and it lasted for a couple of days. So it's quite a good snap like this. So now I have to try and saw into this without it snapping. That's going to be the trick. Okay. So making some headway. Yep, liquid's definitely coming out, so that's good. So just so you know too, inside the tube, it's actually the hydrogen peroxide that is coloured. Okay, so it's dye and hydrogen peroxide, and then another chemical, and I'm not sure what the chemical is. Normally these things are, well, almost always these days, because of them becoming popular with children and young people, is they are non-toxic. Ooh, okay. So, sorry, I went awfully quiet because I was making sure I hadn't broken my vial. So I want to separate out the luminescent liquid. Okay, so what I need to do now is hopefully now I carefully take this out. Get it out. Look, does it want to come in? Okay, what I may have to do is I may have to snap the snap light into the jar to get the hydrogen peroxide out. Hi, Brick Cat. So, well, I'll put this aside for 1 second. I won't snap this yet. So what I'll do is I'll do essentially my catalyst. So I'll make up my catalyst of yeast and water, and then I will, which way should I do it around? Yeah, I'll put this into there, and then I'll snap the snap light and pour it into there, and hopefully we'll get a reaction. Okay, so I'll move you before that happens because there's no way we're doing it in here. So just in case you don't know about Elephant's toothpaste, Elephant's toothpaste is an exothermic reaction. And so what that means is not only does it make lots of bubbles and foam and whatnot, it also makes heat. So it'll get steamy. It won't get really hot, it'll get steamy. So I've got my solution there, that hot mess that looks like dirt water. Okay, and the reason why we use yeast, just thinking about what way I should do it around. Yeah, let's do it that way. Because we're freestyling today, so it doesn't matter whether it works or not. Okay, so we put the yeast solution in there. Okay. Oh, cool. Yeah, cool. So obviously this version of the experiment is slightly different. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this up outside and set it up on a chair outside, because like I said, we don't want to do this inside. So I'll be back in 1 second and put a chair outside ready to go. We're doing it live though. We can't cut down live. People are watching us right now. Is that cool? I just can't show your face because I might make Mum upset. I've got my lovely science assistant today. I've got my friend Luke with me, helping me out, keeping me honest. Okay, so we're moving to go to do the experiment. Now, this is if you're watching, start making predictions. Will it work or won't it work? I actually don't know if it's going to work. I don't know the potency of the hydrogen peroxide in the container. Ideally, for an experiment like this to work, it needs to be about 5% hydrogen peroxide. But your guess is as good as mine. So here is the glow stick. So I'll put it up to the camera. You can see the glass vial. So I'm going to snap it. It shouldn't be that hard to snap. I've got to be really careful I don't hurt myself. And then I'm just going to pour it straight in, because as soon as I snap it, it's going to activate the luminescent part of the experiment, of the snap light. And I want to avoid that as much as possible. Okay, here we go. Oh, it doesn't want to break. Because I took the lid off, it doesn't want to break anymore. Oh, science fail. Now, if you're familiar with elephant's toothpaste, the reaction should be instantaneous. Now, there's two things that could have gone wrong with this experiment. One, just watching it. One, the yeast might be not good enough. It's not old yeast, but it's not fresh yeast. Two, the hydrogen peroxide inside the vial might not be strong enough to create a reaction. Three, potentially number three, is this particular brand of snap light doesn't use hydrogen peroxide at all. So this might be a try. See the dye, it's mixing with the dye. I don't see it getting foamy. Like I say, as soon as I poured in the yeast, it should have started, as soon as I poured in the hydrogen peroxide, the snap light juice, something should have happened, but nothing happened. We've had this happen on the channel before. It's been a fail. I don't know if it's me. I feel like there's a little bit of bubbling, but not much. I don't think anything's happening. I'm imagining it. So this might be one to try again for another day. Okay? So what I'll do next time, I'm sure if there's hydrogen peroxide, you'd get a little bit of a reaction. We might have to try this again for another day, which is a bummer, but this happens in science. So like I said, if in a scientific mind, you have to check the variables. So the next thing I would do would be check the yeast. Then after that, check, make sure that the hydrogen peroxide is the thing that's inside the snap lights. It might be even that I've got to dissolve the yeast a little bit more. Now, if you go back to my elephant's toothpaste video, you'll see that what this experiment is meant to look like. This is not it. Anyway, for now, ka kite anō. This was just a normal kind of brain fart for Mr. Ashley. So hopefully you enjoyed what happened, and I'll see if I can work it out and make the experiment work for next time. Okay? Ka kite anō.